little bit of an improv, right? We are in the topic of now. I guess I'll start a little bit with my backstory. I'll try to make it quick and fast and maybe entertaining. When I quit my job, actually, it was very much in the theme of today's theme, which is now. It was not something that I planned for a very long time. Today, my clients, my students, all of my people in my community ask me a lot, Alex, I hate my job, I want to quit, what shall I do? And the first thing I actually tell them was not at all what I did. So I'm even giving out the advice that I'm like, yeah, I really didn't do that. So I always say to people, hey, make sure that you're saving money so that when you hand in that resignation and you launch yourself out into the world, that at least there's some savings and there's some backup. I actually didn't do any of that. Not at all. And I didn't save any money, and I had such a great salary, and I just kept, traveling and doing all that. So when I quit, it was very much a now thing. It was very much an in-the-moment situation, but I was very miserable for a very long time. I had a great job, I had a great title. So my experience goes back to about 11 years or 12, well, I think it's like 13 to 14 years that I'm in social digital marketing. So I'm kind of an early adopter in the world of digital and social. Started back in London. I am Portuguese by passport, but I've lived and traveled through the UK, New York, Middle East, Singapore, Brazil. I find Brazil to really be my home. And so agency is my background. I'm an agency girl, from branding, from any agency peeps here? Yes. All right. Actually, let's find out who's here. I want to know. So your agency, marketeers? Yes. Who else? Who else is here? 9 to 5? 9 to 5? Entrepreneurs?
8 to 4.
8 to 4? 8 to 4? 8 to 4? I love it. I love it. And entrepreneurs? Who's got side hustle? Nice. Okay. Freelancers? Consultants, coaches. All right, okay, so now I kind of get a little bit of a vibe here. So ex-agency works my way up. Every year, I quit my agency and I joined another agency. And guess what? At the time, everybody was like, oh my God, Alex, you can't do that. That's going to look so bad in your CV because you cannot do 1 year in one agency and go to another. Well, guess what? I don't have any degree. The only kind of diploma I have is in performing arts, because acting was my first career. So I did not go to marketing school. I did not go to business school. I don't have any of those degrees at all. So I kind of thought, how am I going to learn about this whole agency world, advertising, branding, digital, social? You know what? Why don't I just jump every year to a new agency and I'll just learn as I grow. And I'll try to find who are the people that are working there so I can learn from them. And as I write on my book, that I published a book last year, self-published, I say, you know what? That was my university degree. My university degree was going from one agency to another agency to another agency, and I really didn't care about what people were telling me and judging. And that's always something that's been with me my whole life. And that's because of my mom and my grandma and how they brought me up. They always just said, hey, just follow your gut instinct, follow what makes you happy, and just do your thing. And when I was listening to James, and James was talking about, doing things in the now and just doing it, I was thinking, why is it that so many of us don't? And in my community, I get a lot of that. I get a lot of people always telling me, and even in my clients, right? When I'm working with my clients, sometimes they even cry and they feel so stuck and they're like, but why can't I do it? Like, I want to do it. And when I'm really thinking about it, if we do, it goes back to so many deeper things. A lot of it can be even your culture, your parents, how you were brought up, your limiting beliefs, right? If you had parents that always told you that you had to be perfect, that your homework had to be right, that you have to know exactly what you're going to do, you're going to grow up with a lot of these, imprints in you, and it may not be so easy for you to go, I'm just going to do it, and I just don't care. So sometimes I get it. It's not so easy because there's a lot of this baggage that's coming with us from childhood, which then gets us to the topic of self-awareness and having that self-awareness. And I think when we look at the topic of today's chat, which is in the now and doing now, I want to attribute self-awareness as a big one, spending time on us and really understanding, okay, do I have limiting beliefs? Do I have traumas? Do I have things that I need to do self-healing and self-therapy? Why can't I just jump, right? Because my mom and grandma always taught me that. They were like, just go, 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 go. And that's why I've always been able to just go. And that's gotten me in so many places, and it's allowed me to get to so many things in my life. But boy, it has gotten me into a lot of trouble too. But I take those as lessons, and I'll rather have those lessons, right? So for example, James was talking about the unicorn video. I didn't get in trouble, but I did a unicorn video quite a few weeks ago, which I'm just dancing in the street and I'm swinging in the pole. And I just kind of did it because I just wanted to do something fun. It didn't have much strategy or thought behind it at all. I was just like, why don't I just get a unicorn suit and let me just go and it really was just as simple and as basic as that. There was no strategy at all. And then that one really did go viral. And I'm like, okay, maybe I can do mini skits. And then I did the Metro one just last weekend. And I put the Metro one on my TikTok, as I also put on my Instagram. And oh my God, I don't know what's happened. And since the past 2 days, 20% of the people on that video are just hating on me, and they're so angry, and they're very offended. And yeah. And I'm like, wow, did what Alex does a lot, which is I just do something, don't think too much about it. If I missed the mark here, if I really offended someone, So it's been very interesting to kind of see how you really can do something with the best intent, and still people can see a lot of that can only just see negativity and dark. So that was not really a best example of where I was trying to get to when you do something and then it backfires. Because it didn't really backfire, but I'm definitely getting a lot of hate on there. People wished me dead yesterday and they're tagging Dubai police. It's like, wow. I'm like, you guys are that offended by a unicorn suit in the Metro. Yes. Yes. So it made me sad, actually. And I'm quite a strong, positive person. But you know what? You know what made me sad? It wasn't the hate towards me. I felt so sad for those people. That's really what broke me. And if you look at my TikTok, you'll see a crying video because I document everything. And the same way that I'm so positive, I also like to show the truth side, right? I'm a believer in authenticity. So I try to be as authentic as I can with my content. So I started getting the hate. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Have I done something wrong? Let me talk to some of my local friends. Spoke to my local friends, and they were like, dude, Alex, you're fine. I'm like, okay, so I'm fine. Okay, cool, good to know, okay. And then the comments kept coming in, and then I felt sad. I did cry for maybe 30 seconds, a minute, because it broke my heart. Because why will people just choose to see the downside? Why will they choose to see the negativity? And when James was like, the topic is now what comes to your mind, for me really needs to be positivity and optimism. And if all of us here in this room, if we have it, we must spread it and share it, because the world needs it so much. Because I look at these people that are dropping in this hate, and my heart breaks for them, because I'm like, really? Out of all the things you could choose to do in about 30 seconds of your life, you choose to look at a freaking unicorn video and drop hate. You want to hate on a unicorn. Let's just really? You want to hate on a unicorn? What, how must you be hurting? How frustrated must you be with your life? How sad or depressed that you choose to leave hate on someone that you don't even know. That broke my heart. It breaks my heart sometimes when I see people that they just can't, as I say, see the light. And I'm like, oh, I hope one day they get to see the light, So it made me sad for them, It doesn't, I think in a way it also did affect me, because for the past 5 years since I've launched my business, I've done many things that very much go off the book, and they're not very much by the book, let's say. And I know that I keep pushing the boundaries a lot here in Dubai. And sometimes I'm always a bit worried, oh, how far have I gone now, So to celebrate my 40th on 26th of April, I did a semi-nude shoot. And I was like, oh God, let's hope I'm going to be okay with this one, because you just never know. And the response was very interesting. It was very positive, and it ended up being and I actually didn't do it with the purpose of, hey, I'm going to do it to see what the response is. I really just wanted to do a semi-nude shoot, because I really wanted to do something that would make me feel how I feel inside, which is very free and very comfortable in my own skin. And I love the 70s. And I'm like, okay. And he's a great photographer, Waleed. And then we turn them into NFTs, and we've put them in the metaverse. So when we're talking about the now, that's something that's very interesting. There's so many things happening in the world. And a lot of people are always asking me like, oh my God, Alex, how do I get into NFTs? How do I get into this metaverse? What do you know? And I was like, hey, I actually don't know nothing really. I'm also a student of this. So I think we're always students forever, right? I think we're always learning, we're always listening. My community, I love my community so much. And I'm always learning from them. And I learn and I grow from them. As much as I give mini classes, master classes, live content, I have a free, I don't know if you guys know, maybe you guys can pull it up on the browser, but I have a free online academy. It's called the Rebel Academy, and it has more than 30 plus free courses for you on social media and digital marketing. And a lot of these courses used to be paid courses. So I'm not talking about, oh, it's like a 10-minute thing. We're talking about huge, big flagship courses. So definitely go check it out. So, okay, let's go back to my story, I guess. We've gone into so many different places. You know what? So I grew my career in the agency world, and then I think it was about almost 6 years ago now, I started. The situation at my workplace became very toxic. My boss, there would be screaming matches, pointings of the fingers as things happen here or everywhere in the world, really. And the environment became extremely toxic. And I had a team, I had a big team, which was my team. I had my own department. So I had a lot of responsibility. And I could see, when you start seeing like, okay, this ship is sinking. There's absolutely no saving. So I always see my last year at my last agency kind of like, when you're in a relationship and the relationship is dead, but for some reason, you're still holding on to it. That was me for 1 year. I still held on to that job for 1 year, and I was so depressed, and I was so unhappy, and it was so toxic. It was just terrible. But I had so much belief in it. I wanted to stay. And there was this one big fight, and we had many fights with the owner. And there was this one, and he's quite known, and it's totally cool for me to talk about it because the story has come full circle. Because Dubai is small, and if you look at my LinkedIn, you'll know exactly what agency this is and who is this person. But it's a sweet full circle story. And there was a huge argument to the point where I did get his finger pointed at my face, and he says, no one ever in this city is ever going to take you serious. No one will ever want to work with you. Oh, and especially with that hair. At the time, I had long hair, and it was purple because I had just come from Tokyo for a holiday, and that's where I got my purple hair, and I was feeling very savage at the time. I had like long purple hair, and I was in this mood of like, nobody F with me, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna stay in this, and it's gonna work out. And then it was like, slap, 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 no. After this big fight, I walked out, it was Emaar Square. I came out at Emaar Square, sat, just cried. And I looked up at the sky, and I just remember what my mom and my grandma always told me. And they always told me, Alex, follow the happiness, follow what makes you happy, whatever that may be. But follow that, the answers are there. And make sure that you are independent, you can pay your own stuff, but follow that will lead you to where you always need to be. And I'm like, fuck, can I say fuck? Sorry, I don't know. I swear a lot. I say F a lot and other things. And I'm like, how did I lose track of this? How did I lose track of this? I'm not happy, man. I'm so depressed. I didn't want to get out of bed. The alarm would go, you guys know the feeling, yeah? That alarm is going and you just don't want to get up. And it's not because you're tired. It's because you're going into that environment where it's just sucking everything out of you. And I was just like, oh, how did I lose sight? How did I lose sight of the sunshine? How did I lose sight of the light? And got on Skype. Back then was Skype. God, nobody talks about Skype anymore. Back then was Skype, get on Skype with my mom, and I'm just crying. Because for some reason in my mind, it was still not possible for me to quit. But I say to her, I don't see any more light. Like, this is it. It's just darkness. And I was scared, and I didn't realize why. And I say it out loud. And I say, because my mom says, just fucking quit. Just hand in that resignation. And she's like, what's wrong with you? You've always just like jumped into things. You've always like in all of my life, like I went to New York at 19, like everything I've always wanted to do, I've just done. Like I just go. And she's like, what's wrong with you? Like you've been doing this. You've jumped from one to another. What's wrong? And I realized, and I say, because I know that from here on now, I will never want to work for anybody else again. So I'm scared because this is it. Like, I don't want to now go look for another job. I don't want to work for anybody else now. I want to be my own boss. I want to do my own thing. And that's fucking like, that's scary in Dubai. Because at the time it was still, I'm going to do it here in Dubai. And we're talking 6 years ago. 6 years ago, there was no freelance licenses. So when we jump into the topic of now, and when I look at you and a lot of people here in Dubai and I say, be in my shoes 6 years ago. There was no freelance license. My first license was 25,000 dirhams. I'm completely self-independent. So I don't have loans. I don't have anybody paying my bills. Everything I make is on me. Everything that I need to pay is from me. So I'm completely 100% self-funded. 25,000 dirhams for someone who's just quitting their job. Oh, also did not save any money because, you know, that's a lot of money. So when we jump now into the now, for sure, I'm so excited about Dubai and UAE. There are so many more opportunities than there were when I started. Yes, I still believe freelance licenses are still expensive. We're still talking about 15,000 dirhams if you attribute visa and the license. So I need the two, right? So if you need the two, because you got to have the visa and you got to have the permit, you're still looking at a 15K that you need to out pocket. And then if you renew, it's still going to be 10K to renew. I still believe we can do better in the UAE. So hopefully, maybe in 5 years or 4 years, these costs are coming down a little bit more. Or maybe you try to apply for the golden visa. I'm going to try. We should try. So at the time, that was the feeling. Like, that's it. I'm going to quit, but I just don't want to work for anybody. And you know, I had the idea of House of Social. I had it all in my head. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it. I knew what the vibe that I wanted to create, the type of educational energy and vibe that I wanted to do with my educational arm. With my consultancy, it's like, whew, will people want to hire Alex? Now that Alex is not part of a big ass agency, I'm just a one human, you know? And that voice was still a little bit creeping in of, nobody's going to take you serious. And I definitely felt like the tiniest fish in this big, gigantic, you know, Dubai city. And then I quit. I headed in my resignation because I always say, never stay in a negative, bad, toxic situation. Never entertain it, never stay. Because whatever, even if you don't know what's on the other side, whatever it's going to be on the other side will 100% have to be better than the bad situation you're in. You got to get yourself out as fast and as soon as you can. Does that mean you got to start saving a lot of money? Yes. Does that mean you might need to change your lifestyle? Probably yes. You know, shop less, order less Starbucks. You know, all of these costs that I look back at my life and I'm like, wow, what an idiot. Like, I really did not save any money. Like, I was just living the life. I didn't care. And so, what else can I tell you? Yes, so then I just had one thought in my head, and that was, let's just see if people will hire me. Let's just see if I can still get hired as a consultant, and will people pay me and trust me now that it's just me. I'm not under a big agency. That was my one and only big focus. By the way, did not have Instagram, did not have TikTok. TikTok wasn't even around at the time. Did not have a personal brand, did not have content. I did not have any of that. So for the next 4 or 5 months, I think it was, all I did was work. I think the cool thing about Dubai, and we're going to look at opportunities and jumping to the topic of now, is that Dubai is still so small. We're so small. If you really thought about it, the word of mouth that can happen in Dubai can be really positive. So word of mouth got around that I had left. So that was really a positive thing that happened at the time. And I got a lot of jobs. And guess what? They were like paying me the same that I was getting in the agency. And I'm like, oh, this is like crazy. Like, I am making the same money, if sometimes not more. And I'm getting hired by other agencies, which is perfect for them because now they don't have to hire me full time. And I worked in so many awesome projects. I even worked at the Louvre project, worked with Levi's, like really awesome like brands and companies. And so managed to make a lot of money, save a lot of money, change my lifestyle, re-audit my lifestyle. Me and my mom, she's my finance manager, thank God, because I'm really good at making money, but I don't know how to organize money. I don't know. So we did a whole financial re-audit of my life, which is something that I always tell a lot of people. I say, if you really want to do a side hustle, if you are really thinking about leaving that job, really start re-auditing and editing your lifestyle, because you are going to have to cut a lot of, it's a whole different change. And you know what? For the first year of me running my business, I still ran it out of a shared apartment in my room. So I was still running it out of my little room that I had. And then it was just like, wow, okay, people are paying me, I'm getting money. I remember walking home at 2 a.m. because I had worked late at Starbucks in JBR, and I called my mom and I said, okay, so if people are paying me and I'm getting money, then why can't I just then launch my own business? Like, why can't I then have House of Social? Because everything was in my brain, like exactly everything I wanted to do was so mapped out, it was so clear, everything. And as always, my mom just supports me, and she's like, yeah, okay, let's do it. And then it's like, oh, what's gonna happen? And that has now been so I celebrated 5 years of being in business this past October. I lose track of time because I just work pretty much every day. So it's been 5 years, and they have been 100% self-funded. I got to 5 figures last year, which I'm very proud of. And it's been one of the most amazing journeys. And I always say to people, if you want to try and be your own boss, if you want to try do your own thing, oh my God, do it for the journey, because I enjoyed every moment of it. My first year was so scary. I did so many things that were not by the book. My first big event, I did many master classes. I wasn't even allowed. I didn't have a license that was required to have. And I was told that, oh, you're gonna get shut down. They're gonna come and get you. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do this, and let's just go for it. So there's been so many amazing experiences, and I just have fun with it. And when people sometimes ask me like, shit, how did you really grow this business? How have you been growing it? I say, you know what? I just keep having fun with it. I've been doing so many things, from masterclasses to boot camps to workshops. Now I did NFTs, and there's a virtual gallery. I wrote a book last year, and oh my God, it got to 4th and 7 on Amazon.com, which I think is cool, under the new releases of social media, not as bestseller. I just want to make that clear. So I just keep having fun. Like, I have this Rebel Academy, and I spoke to Gary Vee. Who knows Gary Vee? Yes, right? So he's been a huge mentor for me, obviously from afar, even before I quit my job. And so when I started my own business, I put everything that he taught me in practice. And going back to the theme of now, it was like, okay, now is the time. All of those learnings I got from Gary, I have to like do it now. And I managed to talk to him on tea with Gary Vee when we were on lockdown. And he kind of really inspired me to do my academy completely free. And so that has been really exciting, that there's now almost 7,000 students learning for free. And then I'm going to launch something really fun next Tuesday, and you will all be able to put in a request to have a personalized custom learning plan. Because there's like now more than 30 free courses. You're going to get lost because there's so much. So we're going to launch that next week. So what can I tell you about the now? I don't know. There's so much going on. Like, I have a small team for sure. So my mom is my biggest pillar, and she's my finance manager, and she's over there. And she's been with me through the ups and downs. So when I started, if we go back to the 5 years ago, almost 5.5, there was no freelance licenses. So I got a license that was 25,000 dirhams, and I had to pay 25,000 dirhams for 3 years in a row. On my 3rd year, and I was making really good money, but I wasn't seeing any of it because it was going for the license, it was going for the business account, it was going for the accountant, and the list goes on. And after 3 years of running and growing House of Social in my 2 pillars, which is the educational pillar and the consultancy pillar, in 3 years of just running and just working so hard, but I wasn't seeing any money. on the bank account. Like we would have finance sessions every month and it was like, so that's what I'm left with. Where is all the money going? And it was all of these costs of how expensive it was to run a business back then. And I'm talking about my type of business where I'm a consultant, let alone if we go and talk about other types of businesses where you might need a space, and I won't go into that, right? And I actually got very depressed on my third year of running my business. I was a very angry person. You wouldn't see it, but with any little thing, I would just be like, I would either start crying or I was like, oh, I'm packing my bags, because the resentment started kicking in. And if we go back to the topic of self-awareness that I talked about earlier, it took me a while to understand it, because I started feeling very upset. I started feeling very angry. I started feeling angry with my relationship with Dubai. And I love Dubai. It's been about 13 years here. And the resentment just started coming in. And resentment is not good. It's a toxic feeling to have, because you start hating on the person or the place. And that sadness kept coming in, that resentment kept coming in. And I understood that it was because I just wasn't okay anymore with having to pay so much to just be able to get up and do what I love. And it was successful and it was succeeding. And that's, if we go back to the topic of now and taking action, I got on the phone, called my mom, and I said, we're canceling everything. She's like, what do you mean we're canceling everything? I was like, we're going to deregister from like everything. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, we're just going to deregister. We're going to cancel the license. We're going to cancel the business account. We're going to go back to like almost alien tourist status. You know what I mean? Because I can't anymore. And maybe I will have to leave and maybe I have to go. But I wasn't happy anymore. So even though I was doing what was making me, and when Gary came for the first time or second time, I think it was the first time he came, that video on my Instagram, it's still for me one of the most special videos that I think a lot of people should just always watch, because you see me going up and asking him, and I say, because he came exactly at this time that I was really unhappy. And it was a big conference and I was like, oh my God, how do I get up there and ask him a question where I really can't say, I'm really unhappy with Dubai, because Dubai's really, like, I can't really like say that out. So if you watch the video, you really see that I'm just like navigating, like I'm trying to like, you know, but it's so obvious. Everybody got it. That clearly I'm like, you know, and he looks at me and he goes, leave. You've done it before. You've left before. You've lived in other countries before. Like, why is this still even a conversation? You're not happy? Leave. And I say to him, and you see this on the video, and I say, no, Gary, no, I'm happy. I'm happy when I'm with my clients. I'm happy when I'm doing my business. I'm happy. And he said something for me, which maybe seems little, but it ended up being like, oh, okay. And he looks like Gary style, you know, he's like, no, you're micro happy, but in the big picture, you're not happy. You're depressed. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here asking me this question. So that's micro happiness. But what's your macro happiness? In the big picture, you're not. And I was just like, oh my God. It's scary, of course. Yeah, he's right. He's like, you know, and I'm like, And that was also an interesting part of my journey too, to really understand that even throughout your journey, you think you're happy, because I really thought, no, I'm happy. You know, like, no, but this is okay. Like, I'm with the client. I'm having a great time here with my client, so I'm okay. But when really I was not, in the big picture, I was not, and big changes had to be made, whatever then became to be, and to then get back again to the path of being positive and being happy and having that. So I think if we're going to go into Q&A or chats, whatever, otherwise I can keep on going. If we go into the topic of now, the only thing I can just share with you guys is just make sure that you know, self-awareness, always tuning in with yourself to know, because even it's going to be this October, it will be 6 years now of me having my own business, and it has grown. There's been so many things I've done with House of Social. You can look them all up on my website and on my socials. Always asking myself, am I happy? Am I being fulfilled? Is this fulfilling me? Am I growing? And am I learning, right? Like, I want to learn, I want to evolve. This whole NFT, this whole metaverse world, for me, it's exciting to learn. Am I going to be a huge fan of NFTs? Me personally, probably not, right? But I've been having to learn it. I'm curious. So I think staying curious, learning, I think the company you keep is another big one, right? Who you keep near you. Do you have positive people? Do you have people that uplift you and you guys uplift each other? Because when I look back at my agency time, woo, it was like, oh, let's all pull down, everybody was just, and it was very interesting that when I left, all of those people, I lost them. We all went our separate ways. And I get it, right? Just very different energies. I can no longer sit with you at lunch and talk about how bad everything is and how there's no solution. So I cannot be that negative anymore. I cannot share those conversations. We're not syncing together, right? So I think the company you keep is really important. Even less is more. Rather have quality than quantity. And I think, keep, looking for the optimism in everything that you do. And even with marketing and even with social media, I always say, if we look at marketing and if we look at social media and if we look at entrepreneurship or having a side hustle, if we look at all of that with more optimism, we'll find the solutions, we'll find the answers. If anything, we'll find the energy to get up and do it and figure it out. And I think going into 6 years now this October of having my own business, and when I look at Dubai or UAE, it's definitely growing up, but I think there's still a lot of room to grow up a whole lot more. I'm excited for the future. I hope it continues to grow, because what I love the most now is when I have my live classes online, because this is the COVID thing. But finally next Tuesday, I'm going to have my in-person meetup, finally since 2 years. What I've been loving the most is hearing how so many people in Dubai now are having side hustles and having side mini businesses, or have quit their jobs and now are doing something. And I remember 6 years ago, that was like almost luxury. That was so expensive. It was so hard. So yes, there are a lot of opportunities now, but I think there's still so much room for more. And that's it. What do you want? I don't know. Keep, don't hold back. Do it. And I get it that that saying of just do it is hard, because maybe how we grew up, the parents' culture, right? We know that in some cultures, in some countries, it's really not as easy to just, I'm not going to go and study. I'm not going to go and get a degree. I'm going to go and be an entrepreneur. In some cultures, that's really not even that acceptable, or that's not really what you do. So I get it that there's a lot of actually baggage, and it's not so easy to say, but then have that self-awareness to know what is that there that needs healing, or that needs therapy, or that needs to be worked on, because it will be so worth it to take the risk, because the journey, the adventure, the lesson, the friends you'll meet, how you'll grow as a human. Like, I swear, I have no business degree, but I've been managing to have a successful business where I'm making money, good money, and I didn't go to business school. And the journey that I've been having for these past 6 years beats any school I think I could have gone to, or any university. I'm not saying that studying is bad or going to university. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that don't get too caught up on thinking that that's the route that you got to go. There are so many other routes. I've grown so much in these past 6 years, more than I ever thought. So even let's say tomorrow my business stops and I stop making money and people stop hiring me, it will always be ROI positive, because of what I've learned, because of the risks I chose to take. Every risk, I find it to be an opportunity. So I always say, when people are like, but that's very risky, it's an opportunity. And in opportunity, even if it doesn't work out, you'll take the lesson. And when we take a lesson, we grow and we evolve. And if we share it with the world through social media, then that's even more epic, because then we're creating space for others to get inspired, to have conversations. Because I think when we do it together, when we share, there's so much power. There's so much power in community. So definitely, the last thing I'll say before maybe we go to Q&A is share. Share with friends, share on social, share your journey, share your wins, share what you're going through. You never know who you could be inspiring, and you can create community. And there's so much power in community, because when we're together, there's so much strength. Even if we all have different objectives and journeys and we're in different paths, for me, my community of House of Social, it's like my heartbeat. Like, it's everything. Even the haters. Even I've made content where I send out my love to my haters and I say, this one's for my haters. Even my haters, I send them love because hopefully, we cross fingers, they see the light one day. So yeah, share, put it out there. Your story is going to always be your most powerful asset in whatever you decide to do in life. So yeah, thank you guys.